everyone, welcome to the Jemini Capital channel. Today with us is Don Currie, CEO of HillCrest Energy. Welcome, Don.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. How are you, Don? How's everything?
Beautiful day. Vancouver's nice and sunny. Couldn't be better.
That's good. That's good, Don. Well, thanks for being here, and maybe we can start with a brief overview of HillCrest Energy, the history of the company, and its current focus.
Yeah, we'll talk about current history. Everybody probably knows at this point in time that we used to be an oil and gas producer. Went about doing a transition into clean technology in late 2019, early 2020. Since 2021 is really the growth of the company. When we had the idea, we hired the CTO, or brought in the CTO, bought his company, Arie Berger. And at that point in time, that's where the idea of the zero voltage switching came up, and the team was built around that. So from 2021, basically April 2021 till now, is really the growth of the company as we know it now. The team is made up of Arie Berger, starts with the technical team. He's a control system specialist, has had much success from concept to commercialization. Arie was able to bring in Systematic. Harald Hengstenberger is the owner-operator of Systematic, a German power electronics design house whose clients are the large German automotive OEMs and tier one suppliers, global tier one suppliers. We've also added people that have had decades worth of experience. Dr. Burkhoff, who was senior management in Mercedes. Michael Moskowitz, who is the CEO and chairman of Panasonic North America, has since moved on to being CEO of a publicly listed gaming company. James Boland, who owned his own global company, a Gentherm company that was around the world. And then Dan Coker. Dan Coker, we just recently announced, very, very well known in the automotive industry. He built two automotive accessory companies, valuations of over $1 billion. So I think that's just from a corporate commercial side and tech side. We've developed a very, very good team and are quite pleased to have done that in a quick period of time. Current focus, as you asked about, is very simple. We're a power conversion technology platform. We're starting the platform with a product, an EV inverter, which to the best of our knowledge is the only soft switching or zero voltage switching inverter in the world. It has massive interest with the groups that we're talking to. The industry wants it. The industry was trying to perfect it. We appear to be the first ones that have been able to get it to a commercial prototype and be able to demonstrate its benefits. So our focus is on getting our technology, the zero voltage switching, starting with EV, moving into what we call stationary grid renewables and so on.
Okay. Well, thanks for that overview, Don. It sounds like the complete package. Could you explain a little bit more for those who don't know, what is the zero voltage switching concept and what is its significance in achieving increased efficiency, performance, and stability?
Sure. Currently, right now in the EV space specifically, and in most spaces, there's hard switching inverters. And hard switching inverters, if you think about it, just think of serious spikes. So every time, and we're talking about these spikes in nanoseconds. So there's many of them per second. And what happens is every time there's a downward spike, there's a loss. There's a switching loss. And they can be as 30, 40%. They can be very, very high. And every time there's a loss, of course, that affects the efficiency. It also affects the user in that they have to sometimes economically or they have to technically protect against the effects of the switching losses. And so there's a cost that's associated with that, whether it be an upfront cost or a long-term a negative cost to the actual application itself. Soft switching has a more gentle curve, turn-on curve. And once it's up, it's a flat curve. We have sine waves that we've published and that shows that it's not spiky like this. It comes up and it goes over. It is the highest efficiency known, and it doesn't have, so you can switch at higher frequencies, and it doesn't have switching losses. We've eliminated the switching losses, which is a capital savings to the people who would be using it, as well as you don't have to protect against the damage that a hard switching would do. An example of that is that currently right now in the EVs, that some of the higher line companies, car companies, they pay for protective shielding that goes around cables around the inverter because the EMI, electrical magnetic interference, is so great coming out of these hard switching inverters. We've demonstrated to a European OEM that the EMI is greatly reduced using a soft switching application. Thereby, it gets to a level where the protective shielding is no longer required, a cost savings for the OEM. So that's one of the benefits. At the end of the day, simply put, zero voltage switching can operate at higher switching frequencies, eliminate switching losses, and with the higher frequencies, which is higher efficiency, it has a better thermal control in the hard switching applications.
Okay, thank you. And what are key milestones or achievements? I know that you previously mentioned some of them, but what are some of the key milestones that HillCrest Energy has reached in developing and commercializing the ZVS inverter?
Sure, that's a good question. In less than 2 years, we went from an idea to a proof of concept. The proof of concept took about 7 months. The proof of concept was originally a 10 kilowatt, 800 volt proof of concept. We're approaching, the automotive industry right now is going to a 250 kilowatt, 800 volt. We have a commercial prototype on that. So 6, 7 months, we had a proof of concept, then went into design. By November of 2022, we had announced that we had a commercial prototype where we could literally take that, integrate it in an application, into a motor, into whatever the application is with the companies that we were dealing with. So that's been substantial for us. Those milestones were key. During that time, we published some white papers where people could download it from our website so that the industry itself could understand the technical abilities of this technology. Again, this is focused on the EV sector, or as we call it, the mobility sector at this point in time. The next stage, so that would be in the R&D stage, the research and development stage. We're now more into the development stage, less of the research, where we're developing this by integrating it in with the 7 or 8 different companies that we have agreements with, development agreements with, to show and test that it works with their application. We've publicly announced that we have a global tier 1 supplier. We've passed milestone number 1 with them, milestone number 1 of 4. We've passed milestone number 1 with them. We're well into milestone number 2. We have a European OEM that we've been testing with, showing the tests. They provided a motor to us. We have successfully advanced past the EMI test and the efficiency test with them, and moving into the next stage, which is about to be determined. So I think our developing and commercialization is all based on the development milestones that we're going through right now. The company anticipates getting into definitive commercialization conversations in around the 3rd and 4th quarter of this year.
Well, congratulations on the milestones that the company has achieved and the strategic partnerships that are in place. Moving on, aside from the technology side of the business, can you discuss the recent oversubscribed private placement that the company, well, I know it was recently announced in March, but it closed May 15th, I think, the 3rd tranche?
Yeah, we're quite pleased. It's a difficult market out there right now. It's a very difficult market. There's so many things that affect the day-to-day mindset of an investor. So to be able to announce that we wanted to do $2 million, it took us 2-3 weeks longer than we expected it to be, but we oversubscribed it by a small amount. The capital is key for us to be able to move forward in our plans and not to delay anything that we're moving on with. So it was to us, it was a very good indication of support we're getting from the market and from some of the current shareholders that we have in. We did have some new shareholders that participated in that. It was led by a family office in New York that owns approximately about 5% of the company. And they were the ones that led the placement with a $400,000 order in there. So we're pleased with it. The next step is to start focusing on more of an institutional following. I think we are through the engagement of Craig Hallam, looking at engaging as much as we can U.S. institutional groups to try and get interested in the company and probably investment in the very near future. Okay.
And finally, Don, can you please tell us about the company capital structures? How many shares are out there? How much of skin in the game you have?
Sure. 367 million shares issued and outstanding. There's about 45 million warrants with an average price of, I believe, 22 cents. that exists. So a little over 400 million shares, fully diluted. It is primarily retail, depending on if you count the family office in New York and one that's out of Germany. If you do count them as institution, then we'd be 90% retail. The largest shareholder in the company, to the best of my knowledge, is myself. I currently own about 7%. There are 5 or 6 holders in that are 5%, maybe a little bit greater, and the rest is a retail structure. The company's focus is to bring in institutional analysts, institutional eyes on the project, and then institutional capital to come in as soon as possible.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for the complete overview of the company, Don, and we will keep an eye out for the company for sure.
Appreciate the opportunity to do the interview, and do appreciate Gemini's support of the company as well.
Thank you, Don. Have a great
Thank
week.
you.